Welcome, Dionna. Dionna is the CEO of BeachesMLS in Florida, a really exciting, interesting MLS that does all kinds of fun stuff, not the least of which is what we're going to talk about today. So welcome, Dionna.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk today about something that's kind of near and dear to my heart as a consultant. I love to talk to MLSs about the fact that we really are the center of amazing data, right? It's really what kind of facilitates transactions, facilitates education, facilitates analysis, and facilitates, interest and engagement for consumers to potentially think about where they want to go next, right? Or what they want to do with their properties. So I want to ask you about a specific decision you made several months ago, and it's a company called Local Logic. So maybe you could explain a little bit from your perspective what Local Logic is, and tell us how you're using it in your MLS so far.
Yeah, Local Logic was really kind of a partner that we've been looking for quite a while. Hopefully everybody knows what Local Logic is by now, but it really is a bunch of information that centers around the listing. It has important demographics, points of interest, school information, neighborhood facts, and it's all in one place. Right now, really, our realtors are going in different areas trying to find this information. And so Local Logic really provides a nice way of letting them have it all in one place. And when we can do that really saves our members time and money. And that's a really big, part of what we're trying to do here at the MLS is save, our brokers and agents time and money. So, they can do what they do best. So when we saw the reports of Local Logic, we thought that it was a home run for all of our members. And we are really excited that we are onboarding it.
That's wonderful. So tell us a little bit about how you're offering it and what your members are going to be able to do with Local Logic.
Yeah, so we actually have two MLS platforms at Beaches MLS. We are a series of many very large mergers over the last probably 6 years. And so we have integrated Local Logic now into our Flex MLS platform, and we are going to be integrating it soon into our Matrix program. And so one of the things that we do, we have about 42,000 subscribers, a very large marketplace, is we make sure that we go into the field and educate our brokers and our agents about the tools and the products that they have available to them. We know that they are very busy and they have other tools and products that are offered to them through their brokerages. So we want to make sure that we get some face time with them and help them understand the value that we can help give them. Again, saving them time and money through the products and services that we offer. And so Local Logic is going to be one of those suite of tools that we are able to really go into these brokerage offices and discuss. And again, it's something very quite simple, but something that really most people don't have access to. So for them to be able to have these really great reports on such hyper local information is really something that all agents and brokers can use no matter what their business model is. And so we're really excited that it's a value that every person can see in our marketplace.
So how are you envisioning that they're using those reports? Are they giving them to their clients to help them understand the neighborhood they may be interested in, or how do they leverage it in their business?
Yeah, I think realtors always want to have be the source of the source, right? And so this gives them an opportunity instead of maybe picking through various sites or maybe missing certain pieces of information, that they are able to easily give their clients and customers this information. It's especially important when people are obviously moving to a new area. And so being in the South Florida marketplace, we know that we just have a huge influx coming into our marketplace. For a long time, it was really, New York and New Jersey and the Mid-Atlantic coming into the South Florida marketplace. But since the pandemic, we have been seeing a huge influx of people from California and other states as well. So to be able to, email back and forth this information, again, not having to have the realtor recreate the information, but easily get it to them in a timely manner to make sure that they can, really kind of see if that's the home that they want to see before possibly with low inventory, somebody else buys it. There's just so many, values around that.
That's great. So it's just another way really for the MLS to deepen its expertise and, if you will, its partnership with its members on the kinds of information and insights it provides, right?
Right. And just really kind of, again, a great way to show the value that we are offering our members and subscribers.
Gotcha. So, when we think about that, and you think about this type of information, do you see it, like, what role do you see the MLS playing in that? You mentioned, brokers sometimes may have some of this on their own, but how do you see this, like, playing into the larger value proposition of an MLS? We were talking right before we started today about the recent outcomes on lawsuits and things like that. And it's really making everyone question their value proposition, whether it's an association, an MLS, or a brokerage, right? So how do you think this sort of deepens the value that you provide to your members by having this type of information?
Well, I think, we want to make sure that we're the source of data. Well, the MLS is the source of data, right? So we want to make sure that we're also the source of the information as well. We know that data and information is really kind of the gold standard of not just our industry, but really it seems like every industry right now. And so helping our Realtor members better communicate their value to their clients is very important. And we think that really should be a primary focus of MLSs. Obviously, they have a lot to do with, making sure that they are, running this pristine database and all things are running, well for their members / subscribers. But we need to make sure that we're also educating, I think, them along the way to make sure that they continue to be the source of information for their clients. And so we have really gone through a lot of work over the years to make sure that we have put together a lot of different media channels to feed that information to our members the way that they would like to receive it. Local logic is just, one of those great pieces that we are able to feed through those sources and hopefully, reach them so they can, again, be those that center of the transaction and that main point of information for their clients and customers.
That's awesome. And do you, or are you thinking about, or have you offered any sort of training specifically on how to leverage the information you're getting from Local Logic with your members?
One of the really phenomenal things about BeachesMLS is that obviously, as a large MLS, we have a lot of products and services that are constantly being offered to us, and a lot of times they're freemiums, right? So they could be very easy to just like onboard with minimal cost. But the way that we approach it at BeachesMLS is that we do have members involved that are from all different types of practices to vet our products that we onboard. And one of the reasons why we take such a hands-on approach to making sure that these are the appropriate products and services for our marketplace is that BeachesMLS invests in these products by making sure we train our own staff on them to go into the marketplace and help present this information. So, bringing Local Logic on board is, not us just bringing on another product. It's really kind of, building in another partnership into our organization and for our brokerages.
That's awesome. Okay, good. So, there's always the debate about what role should the MLS play in, does it enable brokers who enable agents who then enable clients, or is there a direct role that the MLS can play to support all agents and brokers behind? So when you think about this type of information, which of course is very interesting to consumers, right? That's why you have it. Do you envision a role where you deliver this directly to consumers through public-facing websites or things like that, that then enable them to connect back with your members and realtors? Or how do you see that relationship working between the sort of the three groups?
Well, we actually went through a very extensive strategic planning session, probably in about, I think it was about 2020. And we had several focus groups that we brought in to talk to our MLS board of directors about really various subjects. And one of them was bringing in our brokerages of different sizes, our top producers, you name it, and asking them about this value proposition. How did they feel about the MLS, offering certain products? Was that impeding on their value add as a brokerage? How, distributing information to consumers, what have you. And really, it was interesting because for a long time, our brokerage community really said, hey, that's my value add. Stop offering that product, that service, communicating to, whatever various group, whether it's agents or the consumer. But it seems now that the brokerage community really wants as much help as they can get, whether it's offering products, tools, and services, or helping communicate the message of the value of the Realtor community. And so one of the things that spun out of us doing this really great strategic plan was that we developed a local consumer campaign. And we know that obviously the National Association of Realtors has their consumer campaign, but our brokerage community really wanted something that spoke more directly and had a local feel to it. So maybe it received more traction in the marketplace, and also we could saturate the marketplace more with the running of those ads. So the Only a Realtor campaign is what took shape. That's the name of our consumer campaign. And what we realized was that we didn't know at first whether we want to target our Realtor members to talk about the value that they had in the communities, because they always sometimes need some key talking points themselves, or did we go directly to the consumer? And through focus groups, what we found was that if we could grab the consumer's attention, our Realtor members would pay attention in return. And so actually the Only a Realtor campaign is consumer focused, but once the clients and the consumers, and they started seeing the commercials on TV, branded locally to their Realtor Association MLS, the Realtors also got very excited about it. So we've been running this campaign now for about 2 years. We've produced 3 commercials. They were through a very reputable ad campaign. And what we did in order to get the consumers to pay attention to that, I think more groups are starting to do it now, but previously we would list off, all the things that Realtors do every day to show the value that they put in each transaction. And what we did instead was, we see that consumers are really paying attention to things that tug on their heartstrings, right? Things that speak to them more personally. And so the Only Realtor campaign is actually talking about more of those emotional points that consumers have in their life when they're buying or selling a home, and how the Realtor was, pivotal in that experience. And so we have, like I said, 3 commercials that we produced. The first one was targeting first-time home buyers. The second one was targeting multi-generational Hispanic families. And then the third one that we produced this past year is towards retirees and empty nesters. And those are all really big, groups that are buying and selling homes in our marketplace. And so through this, it wasn't just us doing advertisements on TV, and they were, TV channels that everybody's really paying attention to, right? So it's your Bravos and HGTVs, the ones that home buyers really center around, and also Sports Center. You got to make sure that you get the whole family involved in that one.
Sure. Yep.
Connected TV and social media ads and chasers. And so it was a very fully developed, well-rounded consumer campaign that we're running. And it's interesting, we draw them back to the onlyarealtor.com website page. And there is more information that they can access about the value of the MLS, about what it means to use a Realtor, testimonials from local consumers that have used Realtors and why it was important to them. We even actually have a testimonial on there from a group that a family that was living in Australia, and then they came to America to buy a home. And they spoke about really the big difference and how much better the experience was in America versus Australia.
Wow.
So just a lot of really great information, really good feedback. Like I said, we've been running it now for a little bit of time, so we have some traction. And even more importantly, now it seems that this campaign really is going to be more important now more than ever.
Absolutely, especially that Australia example. That's a really good one. So on the Only, what is it? We'll put this in the link for the video, because that's great. It's onlyarealtor.com. Is that right?
Yeah, onlyarealtor.com.
Gotcha. So on that page, do you envision, or have you put things like local logic to say if you'd like to learn about the best schools in the area, or you're trying to find something that really fits your lifestyle? Do you talk about this in the context of that bigger idea of how we can educate you on everything as it relates to living in our part of Florida?
About how the Realtor is their local source for that information.
Gotcha.
So we want to make sure that that's kind of where our stopping point is obviously making sure that we are not stepping into that relationship between our Realtors and the consumers from the actual service that they offer, more talking the overall value and importance of using them and why they should connect with one in the first place.
That's amazing. That's good stuff. So there's a lot of different companies that have, sometimes I think, I'm not sure exactly sometimes where they get the data, and I know that Logic is not like that, but how did you decide to work with that group specifically relative to, or did you look at other types of data providers and decided that these guys were the best for you?
Local Logic has a great reputation. Obviously, several large MLSs have, adopted Local Logic now, and that probably is one of the big reasons of why, it got the attention of ourselves. And so then once we dug in ourselves and really saw the amount of, work and integrity behind the data collection and what they were giving us, I think that's ultimately what sold us.
That's awesome. And if I'm just getting technical for a second, if I'm a realtor and I'm using Flex and I want to access Local Logic, how does it work? Is it within each listing detail, or is it a separate tab, or how does it work? How do you actually find the information?
Yeah, so I do not usually go into the MLS to practice. That's one of the lines that we draw here. But yes, my understanding is it does remain around the each listing. So
Okay, got it.
it's very easy, and it's very focused on that listing. It's not a bunch of additional clicks in order to get the information that you need, or basically having to tie back the information to a specific neighborhood. It's all easily built in there around the listing.
Okay, that's awesome. So there's obviously more and more MLSs like yours that understand. I mean, again, when I think about an MLS, I think we're like the ultimate data provider, and it can be so many different types of data. And this is just another component. Obviously, listing data and all of that is a given, public records, things like that. But if you were talking to an MLS that hasn't quite grasped their board hasn't quite grasped that concept yet, that we're all things data, not just this particular type of data, what would you say to them in terms of how to open up their thought processes into why these kinds of pieces of information might make sense?
Well, I think they need to remember that they themselves are consumers, and what would they really want to know if they were buying a house, right? And the information that Local Logic is giving us all in one place and very easily accessible is exactly what the questions that anybody would ask, especially being a possible professional realtor. So I don't think it's too big of a leap for them to really understand the importance of having a product like Local Logic in the first place, because I would think that most of them have been a part of the home buying process on the other side before, and they can easily see how this information, if they all had it conveniently, would probably made their decision-making process that much more easy.
Yeah, that's a really tactical way of thinking about it. You're right. It's like if you were looking for a home, would you want to know what the school district was, or would you want to know how, where's the closest Whole Foods, or whatever your particular interest is? You'd want to know those things, right? And yeah, normally you would just ask the realtor, who would probably have a lot of it in their head, but not for every single listing that they're working on, obviously, especially in a region where there's 42,000 agents. That's a big market.
Yeah, I mean, being able to
that.
get the information from a third party, source, besides just going off of somebody's words, is always that much more comforting. And when it comes to like school information, even if you don't have kids in school, that information is still very important to the value of your home.
Absolutely.
And the types of neighborhoods that you end up deciding that you want to live in. So I think that is pertinent information no matter what stage you are in your life.
Okay, gotcha. So any final closing words for those that are thinking about it? What, when they're thinking, if they said, yes, that does make sense, what should they be looking for when they're making their decision?
I think having a product like Local Logic is a no-brainer. Is really information that all consumers should be having at their fingertips. And so as a realtor, how valuable is it that you can be the source of making sure that they have that information that is accurate, and the type of information that, again, every home buyer would want to know about the future home that they are going to, reside in. So I would say take a look. The group has integrity, and it's going to be a very simple resource that your realtors can all use to make sure that they continue to show their value to their clients.
Awesome. Well, that's, I think, a good place to close this out. Thank you so much, Deanna. I really appreciate your help today. And good luck for any of those that may be trying to expand the scope of what they do with their MLS in 2024 and beyond. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.